Whether you are a casual moviegoer or a hardcore fan, it is no secret that Disney has been having trouble with the Star Wars brand ever since they purchased it from George Lucas way back a long time ago. And now a new rumor suggests that Disney might be trying to offload the entirety of Lucasfilm. Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Go for a ride down the side. Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Berry. Welcome to the StudioJake vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast and consider becoming a channel member. Okay, so is Disney trying to sell Lucasfilm? And this comes related directly to Star Wars, but if Disney was to offload Lucasfilm, it would include Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Willow, Red Tails, and a little known animated film that George Lucas personally had a hand in called Strange Magic. The rumor goes something like this: Disney has not made a profit from Star Wars, whether in the theaters or on Disney Plus, in quite some time. Their last big showing was, of course, the sequel trilogy, but they were poorly received by fans. They purchased Lucasfilm for a cold $4 billion with a B dollars from creator and founder George Lucas. And they expected to right away make a profit from that. And that shouldn't have come as quite a challenge for them because in the early days of Marvel, when they purchased Marvel Entertainment, the entirety of the comic book company, and then folded the Marvel Cinematic Universe into them, they very quickly made a profit from that sale. Now in the modern era of Marvel, that's not really happening. We're seeing sort of really bad ratings for Daredevil Born Again, but with Star Wars, it was almost right away when people started giving backlash to the events that were going on. Now, George Lucas was very clever because really Star Wars wasn't worth 4 billion when he sold it to Disney. As Midnight's Edge has pointed out, he hadn't done really any projects outside of Star Wars Clone Wars since the prequels had come out. One thing people who are mentioning that it wasn't really worth 4 billion have said that George Lucas didn't have any plans. That's certainly not true. He had a treatment, which is basically like an outline for scripts for 7, 8, and 9, and also had plans for a television show set in between episode 3 and 4, which was called Star Wars Underworld. A lot of people think that The Mandalorian kind of took influence from Underworld, but Underworld was going to follow a group of Jedi who were establishing the rebellion amidst Order 66, those who had survived. What Disney was actually buying wasn't just those old movies that came out, Clone Wars, video games, or even the upcoming films, because obviously they threw those treatments out the window. They were also buying the fandom and goodwill. However, when Disney put Kathleen Kennedy in charge, and at the time she seemed like the right choice, she had worked with Steven Spielberg as a coffee fetcher and had produced some movies with Clint Eastwood and had worked with George Lucas up to that point, so she seemed like a logical choice. However, what they didn't realize was that Kathleen Kennedy hated everything about Star Wars. She hated how the Force was done. She didn't like the idea that there is a good side and an evil side, and there is that binary, which George Lucas himself has said. He rejected the notion of gray Jedi. There was no middle. There was the light side and there was the dark side. There was the Jedi and the Sith. One side was good, one side was evil, and Kathleen Kennedy hated that. And she hated that Luke Skywalker was the chosen one. He was the big hero of the original trilogy. She was angry that Princess Leia didn't rise up and become the chosen one that everyone looked up to, basically. So she comes along and she wrecks it. She does a self-insert character through Rey, and no shade at Daisy Ridley. That was just Kathleen Kennedy's influence on how that character was effective. She could have been a great female sci-fi action hero, a great female Jedi, but she was bogged down by terrible writing and, like I said, Mary Sue attributes. Since then, Star Wars has had minor successes, right? So Rogue One was really big when it came out. I enjoy Rogue One. I would rank it up there with the original 6 films. That's how much I like it. I would love to see the Gareth Edwards cut of it, but it's a fantastic film, and I'm glad Darth Vader was added into it. I know the Darth Vader scene was added just before the movie came out, and I'm really glad it is. Darth Vader is ranked not just among movie and sci-fi villains, but of the greatest films of all time, in my opinion. I'm glad they did that. We also saw The Mandalorian season 1 and 2, which was met with rave reviews. Same with Star Wars Visions and anime Star Wars. But then other things started coming out that were mediocre at best and terrible at worst. Things like The Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, The Acolyte, The Bad Batch. Now, I did enjoy the final season of Clone Wars, but I wasn't really thrilled that the main focus of it was on Ahsoka. I think that other characters who had been established in Clone Wars should have gotten some moments to shine as well. All that aside, Disney has made a mess of it, and even good things that they produce, like Andor, like The Skeleton Crew, like the upcoming Star Wars Vision Season 3, they're all getting pushed aside because of the fan backlash and just the brand decay. So it would stand to reason that Disney would want to offload Lucasfilm. They would just want to sell off Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Willow, Red Tails, and Strange Magic and let it be. And it is no doubt that they have squandered all of these brands. If you look at Willow, it was reduced from an 80s fantasy epic to a soap opera, and the main character, Willow, who the movie and the show are named after, he becomes nothing more than a side character for the two Mary Sues who get to boss around all their male counterparts. Indiana Jones was reduced to a sad sack, depressive, once great adventurer who again gets bossed around by his better female counterpart, played by Phoebe Waller Bridge, who is just an obnoxious person and a terrible writer. I don't know why people continue to employ her. And of course, Red Tails was a historical epic. It never got a sequel because it was based on the Tuskegee, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, airmen who were great heroes, and Strange Magic, which I have not seen, but I hear it's very weird. It's kind of like what they call a modern opera, but I hear it's kind of odd and weird, but whatever the case may be, they would get that as well, whoever was the purchaser, right? That's how that would work. But I don't see how those would connect with Star Wars because Star Wars is most associated with the Lucasfilm brand. Now, another question of this is, does Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy really want this to stain their legacy? Because if they do this now, they're basically admitting defeat. They're admitting that Bob Iger, he made a terrible miscalculation, not just with the purchase of Star Wars, but also with the hiring of Kathleen Kennedy. And Kathleen Kennedy, it makes her full of egg on her face, right? The Force is female, fade in. It makes her look like a fool. She had a once great franchise, and she tried to insert modern day identity politics, wokeism, if you will, into Star Wars, and it just didn't work. Star Wars is a timeless classic, and the woke can only corrupt, it cannot create. And that is what happened with Star Wars. So if they were to sell it now, it would look really bad for both of them. And so that's why I think this sale is not going to happen. If it does, it's going to happen after Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy are both gone. The two of them, despite it being completely their fault, are not going to be left holding the handbag. In fact, Bob Iger tried to do that to his immediate successor, Bob Chapek. He tried to make him the fall guy, and Chapek was like, I'm not going to be your fall guy. And Bob Iger forced him out anyway and did his less than triumphant return. There is no way this sale happens while either of them is still there. It makes them look like idiots. It makes them look like a miscalculation. Bob Iger's big thing where he was expanding the brand with Pixar, with Lucasfilm, with Marvel, it makes him look like a fool. And even bigger one because he oversaw the purchase of 20th Century Studios, right? So then that brought in brands like Alien, like Die Hard. And now I have heard they are trying to sell off those individual brands. Those don't hurt as much. So if you sell off Die Hard to, say, Paramount or Skydance or whatever, that doesn't really make Disney look bad because Die Hard doesn't really match the Disney brand. Same with Alien. I don't think they're going to do that, but I'm just saying Star Wars in particular kind of matched the Disney brand at the time. Now, of course, they've squandered that right along with the Star Wars brand, and that is foolish. That is why I don't think that they are going to sell it. It makes them look bad. If they are going to sell it, they're going to wait till Bob Iger is gone. A lot of times these companies, when a CEO who's been there for a long time and a chairman of the board departs, they put in a new chairman of the board, and then they hire a CEO who's kind of like a placeholder CEO. He doesn't have a lot of power. They allow him to do certain things just to kind of settle things down before the actual hire comes in. I think that that is what's going to happen if they were to sell Star Wars. Like I said, I don't think they actually will, but if it was to occur, I think it's going to be when Bob Iger departs as chairman of the board and CEO. They get a separate chairman of the board. CEO comes in, a placeholder one, puppet, if you will. He manages the sale of Lucasfilm, and then they bring in the actual CEO. So no one really looks bad in that scenario, but we're all going to remember. And then, of course, Kathleen Kennedy, she's going to be gone. They're going to kind of wait until they announce whoever it's going to take place. I hope it's Jon Favreau or Tony Gilroy. I think they are the only two choices, although I have heard rumors they're thinking of bringing Kevin Feige over to Star Wars and putting someone else into Marvel Studios. Now, Kathleen Kennedy is going to go away, but I don't think that it's going to be anytime soon. I think she's going to latch on, especially after Putt News got that scoop that she was departing, and that ruined her big announcement where she was going to get all the accolades, all the write-ups, and all the awards. That ruined that. So she's going to stay on like a barnacle until that fervor dies down. That is my personal take on it. Do you agree or disagree with me? Do you think Disney is trying to sell Lucasfilm? Do you think they're going to sell it anytime soon? Do you think that they're not going to wait for a successor for Iger and Kennedy, that they're going to sell it right away? I would love to hear your thoughts and your reasoning why in the comment section below. Personally, who do I think should be put in charge? Like I said, I think it should be Favreau or Gilroy. The two of them are actually making profitable Star Wars. Favreau with the first two seasons of The Mandalorian, and then Gilroy with Andor, and he also re-edited Rogue One. Whatever the case may be, I hope the two of them get a chance to take it over because I think that they would be the only hope. But Jacob, what about Dave Filoni? Dave Filoni is a backstabber. He betrayed Favreau. He ruined The Mandalorian Season 3. He stole from the expanded universe canon where Luke Skywalker is the main character and gave it all to Ahsoka, his creation. And by the way, there's this big rumor going around that Filoni worked personally with George Lucas, and George Lucas was basically like his, mentor during the whole thing. Not true. That's just something they say. It was not the case. Filoni did a great job when he was with the Clone Wars, but his transition to live action has been disastrous. So that is my whole take on, is Disney going to sell Star Wars? And I'm happy to be proven wrong because I do think Disney has completely and utterly mismanaged this brand. If you like that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment, tell what you think, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast. And if you want to support the channel, become a channel member or head on over to my locals community. The link is in the description of the video. You can sign up for a monthly subscription or send my articles tips. Check out my website, StudioJakeMedia.com, where I've got articles on Star Wars, on anime, on books, music, and so much more. You're not going to want to miss it. It's very easy to sign up. Or you can support me by buying one or all four of my novels. You can head on over to Amazon.com, just search my name or the title of the books. They'll come right up. Purchase one or all four and leave me a 5-star review. It really helps out small indie creators like myself. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.